Senator Francis Heyliger, your minutes.
Thank you. Good day to my colleagues. Good day to the testifiers. Good day to the people of the territory. My first set of questions I want to ask is to WAPA. If someone wants to know if their bill is being guesstimated, or you say estimate, how would they go about in finding out if they are one of the 4,115 individuals?
Julius O'Bain, good morning. So yeah, on the bill, it does say estimated bill if it's estimated.
So it's clearly stated that you are not being billed based on a reading.
Yeah, it's on the top portion. Okay. There's a heading there that says
that's what I need to know. Also, and this question is now for the PSC, Mr. Cole. Does this bill open the door for legally now allowing estimations outside of the fact that it does not currently even exist in the code? Can you hear me?
Senator Cole, former Senator Cole, Director Cole, your mic is muted. Could you please respond?
Can you hear us?
No, my mic, it's not muted. I'm hearing you. And
okay, it's not
we
muted.
Hear you now.
We didn't hear you initially, but we can hear you loud and clear now. Thank you kindly.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it absolutely does. Virgin Islands Code right now speaks to the fact that meter should be read. As a matter of fact, Senator Francis had legislation that says a cycle, I think, goes up to some 34 days. It should be read. Anytime you pass this bill, then you're going to basically the section that's
basically by this, if this bill becomes a law, we have now created a doorway for legal estimation, which currently does not exist. So my question now goes back to WAPA. Who authorized you? If the law does not give you authority or permission to estimate someone's bill, who came up with this bright idea? And could you please share with me why?
Senator, I don't know who, Noel Hodge, I don't know who came up with it, but I could say perhaps why it was done after the 2017 storms. The AMI system, which automatically reads the bills, was severely damaged with the rest of the system, and our efforts to rebuild it has not brought it back to its pre-storm levels.
Thank you. I will honestly share with you, I can't say that's fully accurate, because prior to the storms, I had an issue with my bill being estimated. And WAPA had to come to my building, went through the whole entire building, and what they said is the meter reader was estimating and guessing my bill because they couldn't get access to the bill, to the meter to read it. I went outside with the young man, and I took 3 steps, and I said, look at my meter right here. After that bill, my bill was over $100. And when they started to read it accurately, it went down to $30-something. And I have the letter at home because y'all wrote me about it. So at the end of the day, this was happening long before this AMI system was in place. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask again. I understand your excuse for the hurricanes, but somebody had to decide that because of our inaccuracies and our inability to bill a customer, somebody just woke up one day and said, we're going to bill them, and by guessing what they owe. So if we as lawmakers didn't authorize you to do it, who told you you could? That's the part I'm trying to understand.
Noel Hodge, well, Senator, I like I said, I don't know who authorized it at the time.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask another question. When you spoke about the potential implementation of this bill, that it would potentially cost additional monies to add on this 5% calculation. If you were able to go into the system and create a system where you decided to come up with an average of 3. What is the difficulty in maneuvering the current system where you could already went in and create this formula of 3 months as opposed to now saying 3 months and 5%?
Time.
Explain.
Hi, good morning again. Julius O'Bain. So basically, the estimating practice is something that's common in the utility business. So our system comes with that feature built in. The estimating based on comparing to another number is not. So that's where they would have to go in and modify the base code of the system to include a comparative action to that estimated formula, basically.
So the system has a service you're not legally authorized to use. It was decided to go ahead and use it and utilize through policy 3 months, but it doesn't have the ability to potentially add on that 5% as of right now.
Correct. It would have to be done through a modification of the base code of our CIS system.
Okay. This is also from my understanding, and this is in regards specifically
Senator
to the
Heyliger?
bill. Oh, my time is up?
It was,
Oh.
but I'll give you some leeway so that you
I
could just
was-
wrap up. I'll give you that
I want to
leeway.
ask, thank you. Let me just ask this last question. Are we having another round?
Go proceed.
Oh.
We'll look at that, but for
Okay.
now, just kindly wrap up. Thank
Not
you.
a problem. I want to ask right now to the PSC. As you know, this body attempted to give you guys a little bit more teeth the other day, and I think the bill was vetoed. Currently, based on the law, what is it you can do to keep WAPA in compliance of what the code says that they have to go out and read, as opposed to them implementing their own illegal policy of estimating people's bills? What can you do or what you can't do?
Thank you, Senator Heyliger, for the question. Donald Cole here. The Public Services Commission do not have an enforcement authority to mandate that WAPA does anything. We don't have that enforcement authority by law.
Okay.
The law tells us that we at the Public Services Commission, what we do is set rates. And there's a process that was put in place by the Bill of Rights, where complaints come in. We take those complaints to the level. And again, after adjudication, after it's done, WAPA can still not follow the law.
Well, thank you for putting that on the record. Hopefully, this body will be doing something about that. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for that.
You're welcome, Senator Francis Heyliger.
Thank you so much, colleague. Good afternoon to the testifiers. Good afternoon to my colleagues, people of the territory. I'm sitting here, and from in my first round, I started to realize that I fully understand the intent of my colleague and this bill. But like I said, if this bill is passed, it's going to open a doorway for making estimating legal, which it's currently not at this moment. And one of the things that I'm having a little bit of concern with is whether we're putting the egg before the chicken or the chicken before the egg. The problem that I'm seeing here is there is nothing in the code that gives WAPA the authority to estimate anyone's bill in the Virgin Islands. They legally have never been given that, but they still do it anyway. And in doing so, by passing this bill, that doorway now becomes legal. And if we are going to be serious as legislators, no one is saying as a business that estimating, whether it's for cause or for some reason, or we have hurricanes or something happens, that it might not be necessary. But what I'm saying is until we put something in the code to put a procedure that is fair to the public in case of an emergency that this tool must be used, we cannot carte blanche put something on the books that opens the doorways with absolutely no rules, regulations, or guidelines. And that is just the facts. Now, one of the jobs apparently that I picked up as a senator is bill reading from WAPA. Because I am sitting here, all of these are bills that my constituents send in to me, so stressed out with their WAPA bills that I literally spend part of my day sitting down going through their bills, trying to figure out what is happening to them. And I just want to take 1 minute of my time and share an example of why what is happening here is dangerous, because we cannot be tacking on to something that's already potentially faulty in the first place. Because I am not in the mindset of rewarding mediocrity when you're not doing your job to the best of your ability. Because if a bill, for example, I have a constituent bill here that earlier I asked you, how do you know if a bill is estimated? It said to the top. Practically every last one of her bills says estimated. And as you look through her bill, she has a standard rate of 157. The following month, the estimation is 167. The following month, it's 173. All estimated every single month it goes along. All of a sudden, it jumped up to 1,000 and something. This is the same house. She came in, she made a, could I just finish my last statement?
Yes, and
Thank
please
you.
wrap up. Thank you so
I
much.
will. She came in, made a complaint, clearly to go from 100 and change to over $1,700 and something dollars. Something clearly is wrong. The meters were changed, and the first time she was not estimated, her bill went from an average consumption of 400 and change to 4,000 and change. Literally jumped from 4 change to 4,000. This was also fixed again, but the problem is when you kept estimating and going up, the average went up. So now after, even though you made the adjustments and you went back to estimation, she's now in a higher bracket than she was before. So from an average of 1 and change, she's now up to 3 and change. She's now up to 4 and change in estimation because they're still trying to sort out this problem with her. But I have to wrap up as my chairwoman needs to continue on. But this issue with this AMI and this estimation is wreaking havoc in our community. And for a $13 million investment, I expect a lot better for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Senator. Your 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, testifiers. Good afternoon, people of the territory. Good afternoon. The first set of questions I want to ask has to do with the website usvileasing.com. I am one of those avid techies. I love anything to do with advancement, utilizing progress, technology, websites, databases, anything that could help give the public the necessary information they need. But I went on the website to peruse it, and the very first thing that caught my eye was smack dead in the middle center of the website, where it gives you a drop-down menu to see, it says, I think divisions, and it's broken down by island. So I quickly jumped there so I could see, well, what properties or whatever the case is. Unfortunately, the minute I did that, this is what showed up. I want to make sure you see it. It says the page you are looking for doesn't exist. And that's the very first thing I did at the very first time utilizing your site. So I don't know if it's something you guys have to go in and correct, because I was very excited to jump on the page because I think it's a good thing. But as an individual, and this is the first thing I'm interacting with, I was a little taken back, and my anticipation kind of dwindled after that. So I think y'all need to check to see if every single link and all the different things are working on the site. I want to ask Mr. Thomas, you had mentioned a little bit in regards to behaviors, and you just touched a little bit on it. What exactly, outside of a general sense, do you think you have really seen from behavioral patterns that have to be changed within property and procurement for it to function better? That it's a must?
So within property and procurement, thanks for the question, Senator. Within property and procurement, the continuation of developing skills to better serve, it's one of the hallmarks of our administration. Another one is helping the team to gravitate towards the integration of more technology in order to allow us to function more freely across these spaces. You think in terms of what we met. Nothing functioned from an electronic standpoint when we first came. Everything was paper.
Okay.
So getting the team to learn of how to integrate the technology and the benefits of it, how to take advantage of it, and I could let the assistant commissioner speak more
quick.
to that process.
Well, I get the outline of it, but I want to ask you, have you been seeing your team is very receptive to these changes, or are you getting some pushback or reluctance to move forward, as you say, into the 21st century?
I have the best team in the world, Senator. I don't have my team. They fight to get it done.
Good.
No matter their size,
See,
listen,
I'm happy to hear that.
They get to it.
I am very happy to hear that, because it's good when you have leaders can honestly come before this legislature and say their team is willing to back them up and get the job done. So I'm happy to hear that. You talked a little bit about needing additional staff. You're off about 40 individuals. Have you done any types of audits of the division to see what potential areas could be merged, and so you could basically utilize more of the 80 staff if you cannot get to that 120, by utilizing technology to maybe do some of the jobs so you could utilize what you do have until you can increase a little bit more?
So, Senator, I'll let the assistant commissioner and them talk with you, but I will say this. We have evaluated, move individuals, made promotions across the board that have them working, actually doing 3 and 4 things. And I am amazed. I said in my testimony, I don't see us being able to sustain it. Bringing more people in will help us, but we have tried to extend the staffing as much as we can to kind of meet the need. The volume is outrageous that comes into the department, but I'll let the assistant commissioner and the attorneys talk about that part of it.
Okay.
Senator, yes, I must agree with the commissioner. We have the most awesome and resilient team here, and I think COVID, the pandemic, proved their value and their worth, not just to this department, but to the government holistically. Our numbers, basically, just the fact that we have doubled in contracts, we have far exceeded the thresholds from the previous year. Having going through the perils of the pandemic and seeing that performance for us, actually our output was much significant and greater than the past. I think that's a testimony in and of itself.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I also want to ask, it was alluded in the testimony that the VI code needs to be, could I just finish my last question, Madam Chair? Thank you.
You may proceed.
It was alluded that the VI code potentially might need to come up to par as it relates to certain laws. What laws specifically, or can you reference any that you feel that could be updated to assist property and procurement to do a much better job?
Okay, so I'll let the attorney speak to that. But we did mention some earlier, but I'll let her, Ms. Moranci, speak to that.
Good afternoon, Senators. So the review of the code is an ongoing process for us. We recently made changes to the procurement statute to come in line with certain federal standards, make things a little bit more efficient for us. In going through that process, we looked at the transportation statute. We also looked at the property statute. Right now, our transportation statute is from 1987. There were a few amendments over the years, but of course, with us being in 2021, there is a lot of room for improvement. So that is our next target area.
Well, thank you so much for giving that additional information. And hopefully I would be more than happy to work with property and procurement to see how we could get some of these things up to par, because I think this division is very important to the processes of this government, and any assistance that I can give, I would be more than happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much, Senator Francis Heyliger. You are recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, people of the territory. Good afternoon, Commissioner. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good, good. Earlier you had mentioned a little bit about July 1 potentially taking over the bottom floor via. Could you expound a little bit on that?
Yes, so midsummer last year, we were desperately trying to move out of our current situation in the Turnbull Library. Not only is it not a proper working space for the individuals, but it also prevented our growth as a department in the St. Thomas district, not having enough physical space, really. We started looking at some spaces. Initially, the idea was that the government would get some modular office buildings, but last year or the year before, I determined it was already 3 years past the storm.
So the deal with VIA is temporary while you potentially work on the one down at Subbase.
Correct.
Do you have a cost then, and potentially how long you might be going into a lease for?
Yes. So the start date would be for July 1. The ending date would be December 31st, 2023.
So it's 2 years.
30 months, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I want to ask you also, moratoriums on fishing. Tell me a little bit about that. Are we still participating in this moratorium?
Yes, we are.
And what's the status? Is there any potential doorway to come out of it?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
So earlier this year, what we did is started the conversation with the fishers themselves through the fisheries advisory committees. The first thing we want to do is purge non-active fishers. And we came up with defining criteria of what active is and what is not active. For me, my goal was to state that anybody who has not commercially fished in a period of 5 years or more, that those licenses should become vacated. The second piece now would be working with the commercial fishers as to what's the criteria to meet in order to allow new fishers into the industry. Could have restrictions by gear type, could have restrictions by number of traps, those types of things. And so we want to make sure that while we are allowing new entrepreneurism into the territory, into the industry and growing it, that we're mindful of what our catch limits are so that we don't abuse those catch limits.
How many licensed commercial fishermen do you have on the books right now? And potentially, based on your research, roughly how much you might be purging?
So I believe as last year when we completed registration, we had 211 registered commercial fishers.
Okay.
Of that, I believe active fishers were about 47% of that.
Oh, so you have a potential room for a lot of new growth and potentially a lot of new entrepreneurs.
It's actually not that simple, Senator.
Well, explain, because I'm trying to understand.
The reason why is because even at that 46%, there are certain areas in terms of the catch limits where we're not over those limits, but we're not significantly behind them.
Okay.
And so if we allow a number of people to come in with that specific gear type to, let's say, catch conch, we don't want to let 40 new fishers in to catch conch, and then now we're exceeding our 50,000 pounds.
That would be based on how you balance out
Correct.
the situation.
Correct.
So, but there will be some major movement on this, because you have a lot of fishermen that want to get into the business and they're limited
Correct.
based on this moratorium and the restrictions.
Correct.
And especially with people that, this is a livelihood for them. If people are not utilizing the licenses, and if you're going to utilize a happy balance in making sure enough people get opportunities, I think it's something we really need to focus on, because that's gross receipts taxes, that's monies coming into the territory and really moving funding around and giving people access to a livelihood. So I'm looking forward to hear a little bit more about that. When I was looking in regards to the testimony, I want to ask you, what are some of the economic development things that you guys are planning in regards to the utilization of natural resources? Tell me a little about some of stuff like that.
So I think the first thing is really, Madam Chair, if I may.
May I?
Yes, you may. I'm sure Senator Francis Heyliger is going to be wrapping up. Yes, you may proceed.
So thank you for the question, Senator. So one of the main things that the Brian Roach administration has asked us to do is really put an emphasis on our marine economy. And so through the sponsoring of the bills that the governor sent down to our marine use planning efforts, what we really want to do is we want to create a recreational tourism economy, because that has shown, or what we've learned over this past year and a half in particular, is that the overnight stay here in the territory generates a lot of revenue between provisioning for restaurants, for shops. And so even if that's somebody coming in from, say, St. Martin and doing 2 nights, 3 nights, if they're able to pick up an anchor, pick up a mooring, that is going to be that is going to result in a lot of residual income in the other fields as well.
May I ask 2 more questions, Madam Chair?
If you could limit it to 1, that would be great, since you're already over.
My previous predecessor, who is
I
my
understand.
namesake.
I understand.
I'm just teasing.
I know you are. That's why I'm teasing you right back.
Okay. You had talked about one of the things that we noticed with DPNR has to do with a lot of enforcement and people with fines and things that are not being followed. Do you have a comparison between fines that are issued as opposed to fines that are actually collected? How good are you at collecting those fines?
I would say that for the ones that are minimal and require the Department of Justice to go after those. So like our zoning violations are $125 and you have to get the Department of Justice to seek that collection. That's a process and paperwork right there.
Okay.
Like that, but now for my coastal zone management program, which allows us to go after penalties administratively in-house before going, we have a 90% collection rate.
Oh, good. And just a quick close up. In regards to the ones that have to go to justice, have you guys petitioned to potentially have that altered, or what must be changed in order so you could really get that done?
Yeah, so right now we are actually, we're working on a contract that would allow us to get some external legal services and update a number of the penalty provisions within our codes in Title 29 that say that these violations aren't done administratively in-house, but rather they go out to the Department of Justice, or and we even have vice versa, where we have certain things that are administratively processed, but yet these are our peace officers, and so they should be able to write tickets for them and make those changes as well.
Good. Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate the lenience, Madam Chair.
Much obliged. You're more than welcome. Thank you so much, Senator Francis.